Let me ask you something raw. When was the last time you poured your heart into helping someone, and all you got back was silence, criticism, or worse, betrayal? Why do we keep giving pieces of ourselves to people who don't even bother to say thank you? And what does it cost us every time we do? I remember standing in my kitchen late one night, the kind of night where the house is silent, but your mind is anything but quiet. I was staring at the sink, hands gripping the counter so tightly my knuckles had gone white. I was exhausted in a way sleep couldn't fix. My heart felt heavy, my body felt hollow, and it hit me. I had been trying for months to help someone I loved deeply, someone who, no matter what I did, didn't seem to care. I offered my time, my energy, my ideas. I gave them emotional support, bailed them out of difficult situations, stayed up through the night talking them down from their cliffs of self-destruction. I told myself I was doing it out of love, but the truth? I was doing it out of fear. Fear that if I stopped helping, they'd spiral. Fear that I'd feel guilty. Fear that maybe I wasn't enough. And in return for all that I gave, I got distance, coldness, sometimes even hostility. I got silence where I longed for gratitude. I got eye rolls where I hoped for connection. And still I kept trying, kept giving, kept refilling their cup even though my own pitcher was bone dry. That night in the kitchen, I realized how empty I had become. I wasn't just tired, I was lost. I had given so much of myself that I didn't recognize the person staring back at me in the reflection of that dark window. We don't talk enough about this, do we? How easy it is to believe that love means self-sacrifice. That to be a good friend, partner, parent, sibling, we should give until there's nothing left. But here's the thing psychology teaches us. There's a difference between generosity and self-abandonment. There's a line. And when we cross it, we're not really helping anymore. We're enabling. We're trying to earn worth through what we give. We're pouring from an empty pitcher, hoping that if we just give enough, we'll finally feel seen, finally feel valued. But that's not how it works. You can't heal someone else by harming yourself. You can't make someone appreciate your love by handing them pieces of your soul. The people who are meant for your love will meet it with respect. They'll meet it with care. And in that moment, gripping that counter, I whispered to myself the hardest, most necessary truth. You can't keep refilling someone else's cup from an empty pitcher. You have to matter to you first. I wish I could tell you that once I realized I was empty, I stopped, that I drew a line, took a breath, and chose myself. But the truth is, I didn't. Not right away. Because right behind that exhaustion was a tidal wave of guilt, the kind of guilt that keeps you frozen in place even when your heart is begging you to let go. I kept thinking, if I stop helping, what does that make me? What kind of person walks away from someone who's struggling? What if they fall apart and it's my fault because I wasn't there? That guilt, it's so heavy, isn't it? It convinces us that setting boundaries is cruel. It whispers in our ear that saying no makes us selfish, that taking care of ourselves is something to feel ashamed of. I remember lying awake at night, replaying moments where I said, I can't do this right now, and feeling like a monster. My heart ached, not just from what I was carrying, but from what I thought I was failing to carry. But here's what I've come to understand through my own journey and through the lens of psychology and human behavior. This guilt isn't coming from love. It's coming from fear. Fear of being rejected, turned away, pushed out, cornered. This guilt isn't coming from love. It's coming from fear. Fear of being stuck, fear of being called unkind, fear of watching someone suffer and feeling powerless. And so we keep stepping in, keep overextending, hoping that if we just do enough, we'll finally quiet that voice inside that says, we're not enough. But guilt is a terrible compass. It doesn't point us toward truth, it points us towards self-abandonment. And the reality is, boundaries are not cruelty. Boundaries are not rejection. Boundaries are not coldness. Boundaries are clarity. They say, I love you, and I love me too. I see your pain, and I won't let it drown me. I think of all the times I stayed too long, gave too much, all because guilt convinced me that compassion meant endless sacrifice. And here's what I want you to hear, in the deepest part of your being. Compassion without boundaries isn't love. It's self-destruction in disguise. That guilt you're carrying, it doesn't make you kind. It makes you a prisoner. And the key to the door is this: it's okay to care, it's okay to help, but it's also okay, more than okay, to stop when your helping starts to hurt you. You don't have to earn your worth by saving people. You are worthy simply because you exist. There's a particular kind of heartbreak that no one prepares you for. The heartbreak that comes when you realize you've betrayed your own heart. Not because someone else deceived you, but because you kept saying yes when everything inside you was begging you to say no. I remember the quiet moments, sitting alone after another draining conversation, after another favor that left me depleted, after another time I said, it's okay, when it really wasn't. When the fear and failure of success feels so intense, I start to believe in what I say, when it really wasn't. When you feel like your soul and spirit have been destroyed after another draining conversation, after another time I said, it's okay, when it really wasn't. When you feel like your soul and spirit have been destroyed after another draining conversation, after another time I said, it's okay, when it really wasn't. When you feel like your soul and that ache, that deep gnawing ache, it wasn't about the person I was helping. It was about me, about the ways I had slowly, silently abandoned myself over and over. We talk so much about betrayal as something that happens to us. We think of it in terms of broken promises, disloyalty, lies from others. But we almost never talk about how we betray ourselves, how we override our instincts, ignore the pit in our stomach, silence our inner voice, how we hand people the map to our hearts and say, here, walk wherever you want, just please stay. It took me so long to see it clearly. Every time I overgave, every time I kept helping when I was running on empty, I was telling my own heart, your needs don't matter. Your feelings are less important. Their comfort is more important than your peace. I thought I was being noble. I thought I was being strong. And I think but what I was really doing was teaching people that I would keep showing up no matter how little they appreciated it. And maybe the most painful part was realizing that I was the one showing them that was okay. Human behavior teaches us something uncomfortable, but true. People learn how to treat us by watching what we tolerate. When we constantly overextend, without boundaries, without honesty, without care for ourselves, we're sending a message, not just to them, but to ourselves. We're saying, it's okay to use me. It's okay to overlook me. I'll still be here. And that erodes us, piece by piece, until one day we don't recognize ourselves anymore. I remember looking in the mirror after one of those moments and barely seeing myself. The light in my eyes felt dimmer, my shoulders felt heavier, and I knew I had to stop betraying myself in the name of helping others. Because here's the truth that changed everything for me. When you abandon yourself to save someone else, you lose the very strength that made your love powerful in the first place. Your heart deserves your loyalty. Your boundaries are not a rejection of love. They are the deepest form of self-respect. And the people who truly value your love will honor those boundaries. They won't just take from you. They'll meet you there, where your heart is safe, seen, and whole. There's this moment, maybe you felt it, when you're helping someone for what feels like the 100th time, and as you offer that ride, that money, that emotional labor, that listening ear, something inside you tightens. It's subtle at first, a flicker of annoyance, a sigh you swallow down, a thought you immediately try to silence. Why am I always the one? You tell yourself to be kind, to be patient, to not keep score. Because keeping score feels ugly, it feels like the opposite of love. But here's what no one tells you. Even the most generous heart has limits. And when we ignore those limits, resentment starts to build. Not in an explosion, not in some grand dramatic rupture, but quietly, like a silent scream inside your chest. At first, you don't even notice it. You're too busy tending to everyone else. But slowly, the joy you once felt in helping turns sour. The gratitude you hoped for never comes. And instead of feeling close to the person you're helping, you start to feel trapped, bitter, disconnected. I remember sitting in my car after doing one more favor that I hadn't really had the capacity for. I gripped the steering wheel, and the tears came, not because of what I'd done, but because of what I felt. I felt invisible. I felt taken for granted. And then I felt ashamed for feeling that way at all. Because wasn't I supposed to give without expecting anything in return? Isn't that what good people do? But here's the hard truth. Resentment isn't a failure of your character. Resentment is a signal. It's your soul's way of telling you, you are giving too much. You are crossing your own boundaries. You are abandoning yourself. And when we ignore that signal, resentment grows. It poisons our relationships. It turns our love into obligation, our care into burden, our kindness into martyrdom. Psychology teaches us that resentment doesn't appear because we're bad or selfish. It appears because our internal boundaries have been violated. And sometimes we're the ones violating them. We do it in the name of love. We do it out of fear. But the cost is high. I've learned through my own missteps, through the tears, through the sleepless nights, that the only way to quiet that silent scream is to listen to it, to pause, to ask yourself, am I helping out of love or out of fear? Am I giving from a place of abundance, or am I trying to earn worth, approval, connection? And when you feel resentment rising, it's not a call to push it down. It's a call to set a boundary, a call to choose honesty over resentment. Because here's the truth that set me free. The most loving thing you can do isn't to give endlessly. It's to stop before your giving turns to bitterness. Because love given without resentment, that's love that lasts. There's a moment, one of the hardest moments we ever face, when we realize that the most loving, the most courageous thing we can do is to step back and let someone we care about fall. I can remember sitting across from someone I loved deeply, someone I had been trying to save for years. I had wrapped them in my support, cushioned them from consequences, tried to soften every hard landing, thinking that was love, thinking that if I just tried harder, gave more, stayed longer, I could keep them from falling apart. But in that moment, looking at them, tired from my efforts, heart aching from all the ways I had tried, I saw the truth that I had been too afraid to face. My constant rescuing wasn't helping. It was holding them back. It was keeping them stuck. I had been trying so hard to protect them from pain that I was robbing them of the lessons that pain can teach. Letting go felt like failure. It felt like betrayal, I thought. If I stop trying to catch them, what if they fall harder? What if they break? What if it's my fault? The guilt wrapped around me like a storm, loud and relentless. But beneath that storm was a quiet voice, a voice I had been silencing for too long, and it said, "This is not yours to carry. They need to find their own way." In human behavior, we talk about this idea of enabling. When our good intentions, our desire to help, actually keep someone from growing, it's so hard to see when you're in it because it looks like love. It looks like loyalty. But what it really is fear dressed up as care. Fear that if we stop holding on, they'll fall. But the truth? Sometimes they need to fall. Sometimes that fall is where their strength begins. Letting someone fall doesn't mean you don't love them. It means you trust them. It means you believe in their ability to rise, to figure it out, to face, and it means you're choosing to protect your own heart too. I remember the day I finally stepped back. I didn't stop loving them, I didn't stop hoping for their healing, but I stopped trying to control it. And that choice, it felt like the bravest thing I'd ever done. Because it's easy to think love means holding on. But real, courageous love, it knows when to let go. It knows when to let go. And here's what I want you to hear, the truth that might hurt but will also set you free. Helping doesn't always mean holding on. Sometimes the deepest, fiercest help is letting go and trusting that the fall is what teaches them to fly. It takes courage. It takes faith. And it takes the kind of love that isn't about control, but about true compassion for them and for yourself. So, if you're exhausted from helping people who don't appreciate it, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, what would it look like to help with an open heart but firm boundaries? Because you deserve to give without losing yourself. And the people you love, they deserve the dignity of finding their own strength.